My name's Nicole Chavez. I work with the city of Borger. And here we got Deidre and Isaac. Y'all say hi.
What's up?
Hi.
And today our special guest is Miss Amy Fesser. She is the Economic Development Director for Borger Inc., Borger's Economic Development Corporation. Hey, Miss Amy.
Hello.
How are you today?
I'm doing great.
Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk with us today.
No, it's my pleasure.
Yeah. So pretty much I would say this podcast, the goal is we want to let the community, we want to bridge the gap. We want to let the community know what we got going on, be a little bit more transparent with what really happens behind the scenes and how we're stewards of their tax money. So, I guess if you could just give a quick introduction of yourself. What's your role? Who are you? Mom, worker, what is your story?
So, of course, I'm the executive director of the Economic Development Corporation, which we're known as Borger Inc. And a lot of people are going to ask us, are you the city? Are you your own entity? And then the answer is yes to both questions. So,
Yes.
we are our own corporation, but yes, we are part of the city. So we have our own board, but we also answer to the city council, and we're sales tax funded. Personally, yes, married, mom of 9 kids, 6 are still at home, so busy in both realms.
You said 9?
Yes,
Okay,
9.
9 kids.
9 children, 6 are at home, so, it's gotten a little quieter. We live at a louder volume than most. We have to tell our neighbors, we're not mad. That's just how loud we talk.
Yeah.
And none of our kids
Stop
hear
calling
us.
the cops.
Yes, unless we live, unless we are at a certain decimal, they just think it's conversation. So to get their attention, it sounds like we're yelling, but that's just,
I think that's just life with 6 kids at the house.
that is. And of course, cleaning is a never ending chore, because with 6 kids, it equals 8 people. That's 16 feet in and out of the house all day. So, floors, I just give up at this point, especially here in the dust capital of the world.
Yes.
But, and then my role there is, of course, I'm the executive director. So everything that goes on day to day, I'm responsible for. And then we'll kind of talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, it's a really fun job. It's something that I had never done before. I always like to say I have a background, my background is almost like I have occupational ADHD. So I've done a lot of different things, from been in management for mental health and IDD services groups. I've done a lot of project management. That's probably the common thread in my background. And my bachelor's degree is in management and ethics. So all of those come into play when you're talking about economic development.
Yes, you are very skilled and qualified, and I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Give a little background on how is the EDC ran? Can you give like a little bit of structure? So say our listeners at home, they've never even heard of an economic development corporation. What is kind of your main role, and how is it structured? How is it funded?
So voters actually created the Economic Development Corporation in 1990. And so it is ran by a board that is appointed by the city council. And we get a portion of the sales tax. So that's how we're funded. And we have our own bylaws that are approved and filed with the state. But everything is subject to the city council. So our annual plan of work is approved on our board level, and then the city council approves it as well. So it's one of those things that you really have to, kind of almost dig into it, because we are formed as our own entity, but we were voter approved. And then everything we do from the board level to our budgets to our plan of work is approved by city council. So when we say we are our own entity, but we are the city, it's a yes and yes question.
Yeah, definitely ambiguous. All right, cool. Why did you choose your position? Like, what kind of led? I know I met you, the first time I met you was in Project Build Borger, a local nonprofit that we're both a part of. What kind of led you here? Because you didn't always live in Borger, did you?
No, we've been here about 5 years. My husband, we
That was a
relocated.
quick no.
No, I mean, we were very far from here. We used to drive through Borger to go to Colorado for vacation. But my husband's family is from Amarillo, but he has not lived here maybe since he was 2. So a recruiter actually brought us to Borger for a job at the hospital. And so Thanksgiving, we ate Thanksgiving and moved. So we'll be 5 years. We had all the U-Hauls ready. So that's what actually brought us here. And then I was working for a national nonprofit ministry doing events. I stopped doing that in February and was just kind of waiting for the right job. A friend of mine actually sent the brochure that the city had printed. And I was like, I was reading this and a little overwhelmed. And I'm like, I've never done this. And she said, girl, you would be perfect for this. And I was like, you have a lot more confidence in me than I do. She said, all your skill sets line up. And so it was one of those things you applied for and hoped you would get it, but you weren't sure because there was nothing, quote unquote, economic development in your background. And so, but I will say it's probably one of the funnest jobs I've ever had. So
You get to kind of dabble in everything. I think it's fun, even for me and Nicole, because we get to work with you a lot. We get to collaborate a lot, and we kind of bounce ideas, I think, all over the place between all of us, really, on how to really accomplish the main goal, which is pretty much the same for all of us, regardless of our department, division, title, all of that stuff.
Well, because the goal is we're all trying to work toward the economic stability of Borger for the future. And so one person can't do that. One department can't do that. So if we don't collaborate, if we don't find a way to all work together toward these common goals, it's not going to happen. It's not a one-man shop. So collaboration is always going to be the key. And so it doesn't matter if we are called the Economic Development Corporation and there's things we're going to do, but we have to collaborate. Nicole, now you being Main Street, while we have Main Street programs and Main Street is a huge part of our priorities, you and I have got to work together on Main Street with you being public communications and your job's the same way. You've got your hand in a little bit of everything. Mm-hmm. We've got to collaborate and work toward the goals that are common to all of us. And so it's as we work together and we work with building these relationships within the community, we can't be siloed. We've got to all bring as many people in and work toward those goals, because I'm a firm believer, you always hear it said, if 2 heads are better than 1, 3 heads are better than 2, 4 heads are better than 3. We need as many heads in this game as we can. There's no heroes when it comes to economic development. There's mass collaboration that actually gets the job done.
Oh, yeah. I would definitely say like relationships and collaboration is going to be the most like vital part of any kind of government, any kind of big project or big goal in any form of life. So,
right.
Yeah, I'm glad you touched on that because that really is such a big part of what we do. That's one thing I think we want to like show the citizens is it really is a team effort. It is everybody doing, okay, I'm going to do this, you do this. I'm going to do this, you do this. So it's really cool to be able to show that to them.
A lot of people want to be part of the success story. They just don't want to be part of the process. And you find that in pretty much everything, like whether it's volunteering for, the PTA at school or, TCY football or baseball. Like you have a lot of people that want to be a part of these things and a part of the success of the town. And in that case, the success of a team or, whatever the case may be, but a lot of people don't want to contribute to that. And I definitely see that the network that we have here of people and just heads, like you were talking about, we're all on the same page, and we're all ready. Not only are we thinkers and dreamers, but we're doers, and what I can't do, maybe you can do, and what you can't do, maybe she can do. And it's very refreshing, and it's honestly just encouraging for the future, because that's so true. We're not just setting this town up for next year's success. Like, we have to think 20 years down the road what you're doing. Is it impactful? Is it actually going to cause positive impacts to the community, or are we doing nothing in that aspect? So,
well, and I don't think we move the ball if we're doing the same things.
Right.
So like with Nicole with Main Street, as that program's getting up and running and the designations are coming, we have facade grants. Well, if Nicole gets a facade grant, then I should pull back my facade grant and focus on something else. So we need to sit down and have conversations in the room of what is your part in Main Street and what is my part, so that we can collaborate and not overlap each other. Because at the end of the day, I don't have a stake in, oh, well, I did that facade grant and she did that facade grant. Mine looks better than her. Who cares? We just want the facades to look better. It's not about
we
this.
just want people in buildings.
Yeah, and if they say, oh, well, that was a Main Street versus an EDC, how about it's a Borger thing? How about we don't care who, you know what I mean, where the recognition goes, as long as, man, Borger has changed. Because at the end of the day, somebody else may be the Main Street person in a couple of years, and Nicole may move up and be over the Main Street person. No, none of us know where our positions are going to be, so we don't care who gets the accolades for it.
Just
At the end of the
ball
day,
rolling.
it should be
the
that
needle moving.
Wow, Borger has done a lot to make their city better, because at the end of the day, we're all Borger.
Well, I think people forget that there's so many, or maybe just not even know that there's so many different moving parts and aspects to making your community better. I mean, as far as infrastructure, your sewer lines, quality of life, so events, what is there to do in Borger? Well, that doesn't help if nobody's making money. So we got to make sure industry is good. We got to make sure businesses are coming in. So it's definitely multifaceted for sure. Do you have any crazy stories from your time? Well, just in general, your time as a leader, because I feel like you're a leader in what you do. And even when you weren't in the EDC position, you were a leader in, like you said, ministry, different things. What's your craziest story as a leader? And then what's your craziest story been as the EDC director?
Let's see. As an EDC director, I was at a training, and it's no one around here, but I was at a training in Austin, and, mental health is such on the rise. And so not so much a crazy story, but like a great learning opportunity. And we talk about mental health, and there's all these mental health initiatives. And I think it was more of an awareness. We had about 70 students in a room, maybe 80 people in all. And we were going through an ethics question. And so it's a very, my degree's in ethics. And so it's a very common question. Everybody's given this question. But for one gentleman who I had even met, and he's very passive, very sweet, great guy, it triggered him. And he ran at our speaker.
Oh my gosh.
And runs at him. And so everybody in the room is stunned. And you can tell nobody knows what to do. And he kind of comes to himself and he backs up. And then something else happens and he runs at the speaker again.
Oh my gosh.
And he gets even closer. And this gentleman is very big. He's a big stature, very tall. And our speaker was a little older and everything. And so I was really worried.
More fragile.
And so I'm sitting there watching this, and my thoughts like, we may have to, I don't know what we're going to have to do to disrupt this. And so he finally gets to himself, and he sits down, and it disrupts. And a lot of people, it stunned the entire room. Nobody knew what to do. But this guy isn't a violent guy. you know, his intention would never be to hurt anybody, but that was the prime example of how we need mental health training in every workplace.
Oh, definitely.
And I came from the mental health field, and what I found in everybody's faces, and we had great conversations afterward, is no one knew what to do because it was such a shocking, out of place.
Did he say what triggered him, or what was like the topic, or it was just kind of like, this guy's having a breakdown?
I think there was a past on the topic, and you know, there were some feelings there, and he felt like it was a pointed question, and it really wasn't. I mean, it's a standard question, but no one in the room knew how to diffuse it.
What was the question, if you don't mind me asking?
It was about the media and the potential of creating a bias on the media, and so for everybody else, it was benign. How
that could be triggering.
Yeah.
For everybody else, it was benign, but for somebody who maybe had that past and had a bad experience in that past, it was really harmful. Like, it was just very unexpected. So there was something there, and that's what I talked to a few of them. I said there was a head injury. There was something there that you would consider mental health, because even a head injury is considered mental health. Mm-hmm. And so just some training on that, on how you would talk to that person, how you would diffuse it, how you would react, because I noticed everybody kind of staying away from them at that point and almost isolating them. And it's like, that's not right.
Yeah,
you know
that
what
almost makes it worse.
It makes it worse. And so you found that we need to become educated on, this isn't their personality. This is not their norm. We don't then isolate them and almost shun them, you know? And so that was kind of probably the most recent one. And so those awareness issues being more and more. And as we get more of a diverse culture, we really need to include those.
I'm just sitting here thinking
training.
like how I would have responded. I don't think I would have responded. I definitely would have reacted, and like, not that I'm scrappy or would have tried to fight the person, but I mean, that would be my instinct.
And I could see how men and women, everybody's just, I mean, and it was stunning. It was just shocking. You could tell nobody moved. And so, you know, they're just.
Isaac, what would you do?
I don't know. I really don't.
Yeah, I mean,
I feel like I'd just be stuck, like frozen.
And and that's what it was. Everybody was frozen, and nobody knew what to do. And so, you know, you don't want somebody to be shunned. You're there to network and make peers and those kind of things. And so, just how to handle those situations better, because we're all going to have them.
Yes.
And so that was one of the things that I wanted to. You know, I want to think about, how do we do that better in our community? How do we do it from our small business owners to our industries? Because we have times, like especially with our turnarounds, where we're going to have a lot of people come in with diverse backgrounds who get extremely tired, who are
stressed,
perfect
under pressure
for these situations to come up, because you're not in a normal sleep pattern and all of that. And so that's how my wheels will start turning. So now that we've got this mental health initiative going on in Borger and stuff, how do we plug that into the right places?
I love that. See, and that just goes to show like how forward thinking you are, and like you think of the big picture, you know what I mean? Because I think we all know, mental health's important. Yeah, you take self-care days, et cetera, but it's really when you're in the thick of things.
Yeah,
I mean, you're
like,
a parent, you're working, you're doing this. How do you balance it all?
Well, and I think we know we should take mental health days, but like honestly, if we asked ourselves, just like in this room, how many mental health days do we actually take?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, because I can think of it like
mental health days take me.
Yeah, I mean, truly, that's usually how it happens for us, because we're so busy.
Well, so what are some of the programs that the EDC offers? So if I think a lot of the businesses and even people that are wanting to own businesses or start businesses, they don't realize that we have options, we have programs, we have services that can help them. It may not be as easy as, hi, here's $100,000. Like, it's not that easy, but for good reason. So what are some of the things that the EDC offers our citizens?
So we have a couple of like what we call our, standardized programs. So we have a small business growth program. So if you have a small business and you're wanting to grow, and there's some things in that package that are tailor-made for you. We have a corridor revitalization program. So if you are in the corridor of Borger, and you can definitely call the office, we can talk to you about those streets. We have
Which
a
essentially
program
is
for
just
that.
like the streets that you see if you're driving into Borger, out of Borger, or the main streets that we have.
Correct.
Where I would say like the most visible streets that we have.
And then if you're a property owner of a commercial building that's vacant, and you can find someone who wants to lease that, and we're talking about a commercial building, it can be in really poor condition. If you can find someone who wants to lease it, we've got a program, and it's up to $150,000. And they're all matching grants, but we will assist you with the renovation so that can be put back into use. And that's a great program. The AT&T building was the beneficiary of one of those programs. We've got another building right now being renovated, and the owner and the occupant is benefiting from that program.
That's awesome.
And
the
so-
AT&T building used to be a gas station.
It was
And
a ga-
I mean, if you didn't know that, you wouldn't know that.
No, and just think about, and sometimes it takes vision, but think about if anybody's ever been to Pondaseta in Amarillo. They took that was an old gas station, but they had vision of what it is now. And so some of these buildings, if you can think outside the box, can become something really unique and great. We're undertaking the renovation of Cezanne's, which is the old jewelry store right beside Newman and Bailey, and it is a fantastic building. So I'm really excited to see that one complete. Of course, we've got the Enterprise Park. But if you're thinking about a building, thinking about purchasing a building, starting a small business, come see us. There's a lot of things we can do. We also have, I always say, we also have a Spencer in our office, which
He is too.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
Spencer.
He is a Spencer, and he's actually with Leading Edge. He is the guru of all things business. Like if you need a business plan, you need to see if your idea will work. He will go over your financials. You can come see him once a week. He's there on Wednesday. You can come see him once a week for years, and he's free to you. We pay for him. He knows everything about everything. I go in there and say, okay, Spencer, say this, and we'll talk through things. He is amazing. So
He really is like a business Google.
Yes.
You go in there and you're like, okay, but what about this? Okay, backspace, like, but what about this? And he'll give you a straightforward answer. He's not discouraging either. He's just
No.
very realistic.
And even if you're not ready to do it yet, he can create a plan. So he'll say, you know what? I love your idea. This could work. You're not ready yet. Let's make a 6-month plan. Let's do these things.
But it's
But you want it to be sustainable and long
very
growing,
much so. And then that you would say that's probably why a lot of your grants are matching versus, hey, here's X amount of money. I mean, you do want to make sure that the business is sustainable financially before
Yeah,
you
because I mean, it's tax
pouring.
money. You don't want to just give it
Yes.
away for willy nilly. You know what I mean? You want to make sure
We'll
it's
see
a
if this works. Here's
viable,
100
yeah,
grand.
viable and
Right, because we are trying to create a sustainable economy with the public's money. So as we're actually taking your tax dollars and we're reinvesting it for your future. So every dime that we are reinvesting, we are thinking, is this the best way for us to spend your money?
What are some of the requirements that you guys have whenever they're coming in to apply for these programs?
So it's because we have a Spencer, everyone meets with a Spencer to go over their finances, to go over their plans, just to make sure it's a good investment. And he goes over, he'll do the business plan with them, but also our board is always used to seeing the financials in a certain format. So he can assemble that for the businesses so that it's in a way they're used to seeing. And sometimes we'll have him write up a memo that helps explain it in the verbiage that they're used to seeing. So that's one of the major checklists. And then he will also help them say, these are the recommended improvements, and then these are improvements that the grant won't go for. Since it is a matching grant, they pay for it first and then we reimburse. And we'll reimburse quickly. We just need the paid receipts. Because, unfortunately, I think in the past, and I think it's been in the far past, when checks were written beforehand, people didn't spend the money on the correct things. which I mean happens. People are human. Things, things. You always have the other scenarios that occur. So,
How many people would you say apply for these grants? Like, is it a large amount, or is it something that you feel like could benefit from more education, like public education, and maybe even from the city's end on, hey, these are the programs we have. This is who we're seeking, and this is what you should do.
I think always you could benefit from more education. So we've done high demand job training grants with Frank Phillips. Because, they've got the welding program and they needed some new equipment for safety of the students. And of course, I think the metric is either 80 or 90% of those students are high school students. So we want to ensure their safety.
Yeah.
So we did a high demand job training grant to pay for a lot of that equipment so that they weren't sharing booths and those kind of things. So whenever we know that our industries or someone like that needs a job, we're going to, we'll fund job training. We are funding, we have funded just in the recent past, Teed Off Golf. We've helped them, Hey Baby Ultrasound, the new Happy Heart Yoga that is coming, Refinishing Systems. I'm trying to just think of them off the top of my head.
And y'all have incubator spaces as well, right? So y'all actually y'all take these buildings, renovate them, but actually offer them at a discounted rate to somebody. Say, hey, I want to start my business, but I don't have $100,000 to invest right away. I want to see if this is viable. Can you speak a little bit more about that?
So the incubator spaces, the purpose is you don't sink your life savings, or, people don't retire, take out their retirement and then sink it all into a business. And then worst case scenario, what if that business failed? So part of our plan is to have these spaces. You can rent them and we can increment the rent up as you're in business for a different length of time, so that you can start with as minimal overhead as possible. And then if it doesn't work, okay. If it does, wonderful. We've set you up. So that's part of the goal. And that's why they're called incubator spaces. So that you just didn't sink a life savings into these things. And they're
that gives them
currently
time
all
too
full.
to like build up a clientele, see if this is something that, like you said, is actually viable long term and sustainable, and so people that are interested, and then they're paying a minimum amount of rent versus completely renovating a space or moving into a space that needs repairs and sinking money into those repairs, or even just paying for I know we were even talking about Nicole's electric bill because her house is older and maybe like it needs an upgrade or something. I don't know, but her electric bill's crazy. And if that's like that in a residential area, imagine what it's like in a commercial space for just a little business starting out. And those businesses too, the ones that you just mentioned, those are businesses that Amarillo really doesn't have. So I don't think that they have they might, but I don't think that they have like a golf simulator place where you can go and have different tournaments. I know that they have maybe one or two different ultrasound places, but it's very hard to get into those and they're very expensive. So the fact that we have that right here in our little town and we have people wanting to put those things. They have the vision themselves of bringing things that aren't already here into the town and letting them thrive. That's awesome.
Well, and we have some amazing buildings. We have amazing historic buildings, but we're at the point where the renovation costs are really difficult for some people to maintain these buildings. So if we can help by getting the buildings, getting them renovated, we're not at our goal is not to make money. Our goal is to make these buildings sustainable for the future, to set them up and make them, beautiful again. So if we can do that and then set buildings up to be long-term buildings that bring foot traffic, that bring tax dollars into the community, then that's part of our contribution. Because again, the EDC or Borger Inc. is about spurring the economy, not making money, and trying to help different industries that create jobs. Because when we have jobs here, the people that make money in Borger spend money in Borger.
Yeah, I love that. And I hope our listeners are listening to this. If you feel like you have a entrepreneurial idea that you want to test out, if you have been working your 9 to 5 and just thinking about your dream that you want to accomplish, I mean, it really is scary taking that first step, but it sounds like our EDC is a very good resource to explore. I mean, it sounds like they kind of give you the tools and almost hold your hand through the process to kind of help you get started. So that is
If you
awesome.
were going to do those things independently, you would have to pay somebody to almost like a business coach. You would also have to pay probably a business tax advisor. You would have to pay for them to run the reports. You would have to pay, I mean, a lot of money essentially to get the correct information versus just coming down, calling the EDC and hanging out with Spencer for a little bit. And just, it's such a welcoming space in there too. There's not pressure. It's very comfortable. It's very encouraging. It's not, like I said earlier, Spencer's not trying to kill anybody's dreams. He's literally just trying to say, hey, this is what's proven to work. And this is what you're going to need to make that work. Here's the steps. And then just letting, you actually take the action on it. And if you have people that aren't willing to take the action on things like that, that does kind of tell you right away that this is probably not going to be sustainable. If I can't get this person to do X, Y, Z, they're probably not going to do this, and this.
LMNOP.
Yeah. I was like X, Y. I was trying to make that catchy, but I'm like, man, I just ruined that going straight to Z.
It's funny. There was a video I saw and it was like, I was so tired of working my 9 to 5 job. So I became an entrepreneur, and now I work 24/7.
Yeah. And
But it really is.
A lot of people don't realize, like, you don't just start generating an income that quickly it takes some people years to start making a profit versus just breaking even. And some people, it takes long to even break even. I mean, it's not for the weak. It's not for the faint of heart at all. You are going to have to be working, probably longer hours than you wish, but that doesn't mean it's bad.
Yeah, it's creating something.
For sure.
Creating something that's yours and you can pass down, and I don't know. I love that. What do you see happening next for the EDC? Because you did just
what's coming down the pipeline?
You just came into this position, I would say, about a year now.
So it'll be a year in August.
Okay, so a little under a year. What's like on your radar? What's coming next?
That's a big question. So we want to connect local people more to state and federal resources, because there are a lot of those resources. And even there's resources in Amarillo, like our West Texas
the Enterprise Center.
The SBDC at West Texas, and they have a lot of resources, as well as the West Texas Enterprise Center. The Texas, what is it? The Texas Department of Ag has lots of grants. Texas Workforce Commission. So there's amazing grants and funding opportunities out there. It's just having people come in, hearing what their need are, and being able to connect them, not just locally, but regionally, on the state and federal level, to things when we know what the need is. So that's one thing. Also working with our industries and then attracting additional industries based on their needs. So there's a lot in the horizon. We're also working pretty close at the legislative level in Texas on different bills that are coming up, things that affect not only economic development, but our city as a whole, and how we can govern, pass ordinances and those things. So we watch that very closely, and we talk to our representatives and our local state senator on how they're voting. So we stay very closely. We're working, we have plans to work with the CTE programs, both with Frank Phillips and the high school, closer and closer, because we want to start earlier and earlier working with some of these kids on what their thoughts are on the workplace, because now the new trend is to go in and start playing with them at 3rd grade on some of these programs, and start the STEM programs and those kind of things, and start spurring their interests early. So you'll see some that when they want to make cities out of Legos, those could be your, engineers and construction workers, and then robotics, your data center runners and those different things. And so there's a lot of trends there that we can begin to work with them, and then also instill love the place you live. So if we can put that hometown pride and stuff in them, then a lot of times you can combat the, other is better. We want them to love Borger so much that they become invested and want to stay here and invest in their community.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think we definitely want people to go off, go to college, get your education, go experience things. But I think our goal, a lot of people's goal, is we want to create such a quality of life and a thriving environment here that people come back. Come back, come raise your family here, invest in your community, be that business owner that, sponsors the softball team, and have that network in that community and that camaraderie.
And then of course, housing. So everybody's going to see the housing development break ground very soon. So
That's Yucca Estates.
Yucca Estates is going to.
How many houses are expected to be?
The first part of that will be 25 lots.
That's
and
exciting.
Hopefully that will complete by the end of the year.
Yeah, because I know housing is a big topic and a big issue in Borger, just because we have so many people that work here. We have so many people that come in for industry, but it's like, where do they live?
Well, and I know that was a big factor in changing our zoning with the ELDO. A lot of, you'll notice if you're going down Cedar Street on either side, you might have some businesses, you might have just all residential, and it's all mixed together. Mm-hmm. So, not that we can really go back and redo all of that now, but the ordinances going forward are very intuitive in terms of, okay, let's keep the houses together, let's keep the businesses together versus having businesses and houses from the same street. And not that there's necessarily anything wrong with that, but, Nicole, as you kind of have talked about, we have to be able to sustain a main street by having a nightlife, by having diversity, not just 15 shops. That's great. We have fantastic boutiques and shops and stores on our main street. But if that's the only thing that's on there, not everybody's going to come down there because not everybody's shopping every day. You have different you have people that like different environments. You have people that like the nightlife. You have people that all kind of.
Yes. What's one thing that you, as you know, this podcast is called Bridging the Gap. Mm-hmm. What do you think is one thing that you can let the public know that helps bridge the gap?
I think it's going to be collaboration. It's going to be how we collaborate. And my predecessor was amazing at collaborating. I think we're going to do it. We're going to increase that. You're going to see the EDC/city because, how we are and aren't. And then Main Street, communications, the chamber, and then different stakeholders. We're going to be in rooms brainstorming on a lot of these projects. What's yours, mine, and ours? And then we're going to break it up into teams and go. Because some of the problems I think that we have, and problem is not the right word, but some of the solutions we're trying to find to some of these issues, everybody likes to talk about public relations. Well, in that, we have to have a relationship with the public.
Yes, exactly.
And so by us tackling it as a group and dividing and conquering, that helps us on all fronts. And we're going to figure out what's our different parts, and then we're going to divide and conquer. And that's the best way to do it. And with all of us having those same conversations with the community, we all get to build that relationship, let them know how much we care about it, and we really do want their feedback as we're forming our solutions to their problems. We're not just saying, oh, we see your problem and here's your solution. Right. No, we really want to know, what do you think the problem is and how would you solve it? And then we're going to get back in a room and work on those issues together. So I think it's collaboration with as much feedback as possible.
I love that.
It really does. You can't just expect to make an entire impact on our whole economy without just doing it by yourself. You and Michelle just over at the EDC doing it by yourself. And same thing with us. Like I personally can't expect to make an impact on our public without having engagement from our other departments or, the other people that work in the city. or the public in general. I've seen a lot of past public communicators that they think they're doing a fantastic job, but nobody is listening to what they have to say because they're not tuned into the right audience. They're not tailoring their messages to the right audience, I should say. So, I mean, always a collaborative effort.
Yes. Thank you so much for coming down here today.
No, thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Well, if you have a business idea or want to explore entrepreneurism or just have any questions concerning anything business, go down to Borger Inc., our local economic development corporation. They are located right next to City Hall in our downtown off of Main Street, 6th and Main, right? Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Amy, for having us today.
It's 108 6th Street.
108 6th Street. There you go.
What street did you say?
6th and Main.
6th and
So
Main.
I was like, oh, yeah, that's what it is.
It's in that general
like,
area.
Yeah. It's across from
For
City
some
Hall.
reason
From the
I was
side
like
of City Hall.
picturing the donut shop. I don't know. I can't be doing directions, Nicole. Like,
We are not navigators.
No, we're directionally challenged.
All right. Well, thank you to our audience for listening, and that is how you bridge the gap. Thanks.